Here's a quote for you. "We cannot languish on the red list at the whim of capricious politicians in the first world that only have their self-interest at heart and are not following the science or the data." End quote. Well, these were the words of a frustrated David Frost, CEO of the Southern Africa Tourism Services Association. And I think that, David, you really did... You speak for so many South Africans at the moment who just watch their December savings, everything that they'd put money into, disappear before their very eyes. He also called last night on the speech by President Cyril Ramaphosa as his most powerful one yet. And I have to agree with you, David. Good morning to you.
Hi, good morning. Really good to be with you.
I really felt that the president's speech last night was diplomatic yet very statesmanlike in that he was firm and without scolding. He certainly made it clear that vaccine nationalism and, so much of the travel ban is not necessarily based on science, but actually based on politics.
Absolutely, and it was encouraging to hear him come out unequivocally and just call it for what it is. It's been absolutely devastating for a sector that's been totally closed for 18 months. We languished for much of this year on the red list, and the lobbying effort that we put into play exposed that there was no science or any proper basis on which to keep us on the red list. It was an anachronistic, fear-mongering notion about the beta variant, which didn't stand up to any proper scrutiny. And here we are again in exactly the same situation. The getting off the red list in October, I mean, there was amazing pent-up demand. So our members who have been without business for many months we're looking forward to a good couple of months of the high season. And I mean, it is frightening. In the first 48 hours, we've surveyed our members. 940 million rand of cancellations took place in the first 48 hours since the red list blanket ban from much of our source markets took place.
I know so many people who've had cancellations from people renting out their houses from Airbnb, and they haven't had to, but they have honored those cancellations and given the deposits and the full payment back, and they've just lost so much. What kind of effects are you seeing, if you could just give us some examples from some of your members of the catastrophic effect this has had?
Well, as I say, the sort of green shoots were there. We were looking forward to. It certainly wasn't going to go back to pre-COVID levels immediately, but it was looking. The forward book was looking particularly strong. As I think I've often said, we're a particularly attractive COVID destination. We're low impact. Most of activities happen outside. We've got great weather. So all of this was teed up to give us some respite as international travel came back. And what's happened has been absolutely devastating. To my mind, and it was so encouraging to see the president, speak as he did. And what we have now that we didn't have for much of the year is that we have an absolute united South Africa that I think is, all elements are going to be trying to work together to try and push back against this and to get the science to the fore and to get a proper data-driven process in place. And I mean, that for me is very, very important. I would urge the president to engage the UK Prime Minister and indeed the other leaders of the countries that have put us on the red list. We need a clear and transparent process about how we get off the red list, because that wasn't in place for much of the year when we languished on the UK red list from January through to October.
Cases found in Hong Kong, and the UK was much slower to cancel flights to and from the UK and Hong Kong, and Botswana saying that it's very likely that Omicron was brought in by people from Europe. Let's call this out for what it is. Why are they being so punitive against Africa?
Look, Annika, this is a very vexed question, and I don't want to get into sort of conjecture around the sort of really inherent Afro-pessimism that we see, from not only from time to time, but fairly often. But it's to our mind iniquitous, and I think, when you look at what our scientific community say about this, I mean, and these are world leaders in their respective fields that do incredibly good work. And indeed, the WHO, the World Health Organization, come out unequivocally to say that travel bans are not the solution. They don't work. And this thing, as you correctly point out, is manifesting itself in all parts of the world. And that's the nature of the virus. So we need a far more pragmatic, a far more sanguine response where we all work together, but we don't go and perniciously penalize parts of the world. And I think we're just a soft target, quite frankly. And it's a particularly galling set of circumstances for a country and an economy that sorely could do with the tourism boon that we were expecting.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, David Frost, representing the inbound tourism industry. Thank you for your time again.